Hello there. The following video will show you some best practices for reviewing the Estimate Detail by Service Advisor month-to-date report that appears in your daily Knowledge Bundle. So let's go ahead and navigate to the report. And with this, you get a graphical representation of how recommendations were handled in your dealership month to date. Always note that the recommendations that are included on this report are only failed recommendations. So anything marked with a caution task status during the inspection will not be included on this report. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's represented here, and we see we've got 4 different metrics that it shows on this report. So we get to see how many approved recommendations that we had. We get to see how many declined recommendations that we had. We get to see how many not recommended recommendations that we had, and then not recorded. We get a count on that as well. So if we look at our grand total box right here, we can see that there were 286 approved recommendations for AutoPoint Automotive in the month of August. There were 1,029 declined recommendations during that same time period. And we can see here in very small slices here, the not recommended recommendations, we had 8 of those in August. And let's kind of discuss what the not recommended recommendation is. So if an advisor has a recommendation or recommendations on their estimate, they have the ability to uncheck or remove those recommendations from their estimate. They navigate to the left-hand side on the estimate screen, and then they uncheck the recommendation, which is recorded as a not recommended recommendation. This is very important to monitor regularly because you don't want advisors to be removing recommendations from your estimates without good reason. This can create liability issues, communication issues, obviously, but you definitely want to make sure that you don't have a large amount of not recommended recommendations. And then not recorded is when the advisor fails to record an approve or a defer decision. As you can see, we had 17 of those for the entire month. And you do get a drill down for each one of the advisors. So let's navigate through a couple of these just to discuss in a little bit more detail. So Jeremy Robinson, as an example, for August had 14 approved recommendations, 61 declined recommendations, and then 4 not recorded recommendations. So we had just indicated that that is when the advisor fails to record an approve or a defer decision for a particular recommendation. This can create problems, though, when they forget to do this step. If you have a declined recommendation program, or you're getting a report every Monday that shows you your declined recommendations, any recommendation that does not have a decision recorded will not push or populate to that program or to that report. This can also skew your closing percentages, as if an advisor sells a recommendation and does not mark it as approved on his estimate, that will negatively skew the closing percentage, as he or she has to make sure that they mark all recommendations with an approve or a defer. And this can also skew the accuracy of your Know Your Vehicle report if an advisor has either sold or had deferred recommendations on an estimate. If he fails to record that information, then the Know Your Vehicle report that he gives the client will be inaccurate. So it's very important to make sure that that is reviewed regularly. And then finally, navigating over here, you can see Oscar Rivera in August had 56 approved recommendations, 263 declined recommendations, and then he had 8 not recommended recommendations, as you can see right there. So the not recommended recommendations, just to review, would mean that there were 8 recommendations throughout the month where Oscar removed them or unchecked them from the estimate form. You can drill down further on this by reviewing the recommendation detail report, where you would be able to filter that and find that particular not recommended recommendation or recommendations, so you can go further with that. But very important to make sure that you do review this report regularly, just to make sure that the advisors are not removing recommendations from their estimates. One other key piece of this report is the drill down for success with particular recommendations. You can actually navigate down below these graphs and you can look at each one of your advisors, how well they do at selling particular recommendations. So as you can see here, you've got a breakdown by task category, and you can drill down and see how effective the advisor is at selling particular recommendations. Say as an example, replace cabin and HEPA microfilter. Looks like the advisor had 4 opportunities here. They sold 1 and declined 3. So there's your total of 4 right there. This will give you a drill down again for each one of the recommendations that are made throughout the month. So this does give you a really good opportunity to drill down and see if you have advisors that are struggling in maybe a particular recommendation area. If you have any further questions about this report, you can always reach out to our help desk at 877-567-4349, prompt 3. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch the video.